Hey everyone, so in this video we will give you an introduction into the concept of a matrix, and I don't mean the movie. Mathematically, what is a matrix, right? So now what you see on your screen is a matrix. You can see that it's basically a couple of square brackets with numbers written inside it. The numbers are clearly arranged in a structured manner, right? They're in the form of rows and columns. Now another example of a matrix is this. Again, you see the same pattern, right? You see numbers arranged in a very structured manner. There are rows and columns. So matrix is an ordered arrangement of numbers, symbols, variables, expressions and so on in rows and columns. So let's look at a general form of a matrix, right? So again, similar to what we've seen, two square brackets, and you have symbols inside them, starting from A11 to A1n, and then you have a second row with A21, A22 all the way to A2n, all the way down to AM1 to AMN. And so this matrix now has m rows going from A11 all the way down to the row A starting with AM1, and it has n columns, right, starting from the row with A11 all the way down to the column starting with A1n. So matrix can have one or more rows and columns. So now what is this A11 and this A12? So all the numbers or symbols or whatever in a matrix are called elements of the matrix, and each element in the matrix can be indicated as Aij, where I and j are subscripts. Now, so you look at A11, right? I is 1, j is 1. A12, I is 1, j is 2. So you see a pattern here, right? So if you look at the first row, you have A11, A12, A13 all the way to A1n, which means the first index, which is I, indicates which row it is, right? It's the first row, it starts with 1. The second row, all the elements, the i's are 2. Now look at the first column. It's A11, A21 and so on to AM1. So the second index, which is j, indicates which column it is. So I is the row index and j is the column index. And the first element, for example, which is the first row, first column is A11. If it's the mth row, third column, it's AM3, right? So that's how matrices are, or that's matrix notation. So now you can write this large matrix in a simple fashion. You can write it as A m cross n, which means it's got m rows and n columns, and we'll go into this a little more in detail later. Can be written as square brackets Aij, which, as we have already seen, are the elements of the matrix m cross n, right? And you already know m and n are the row and columns of the matrix. So what it's telling you is that matrix A has elements Aij. The matrix has size m cross n, meaning it has m rows and n columns. And I, because it indicates the row, can go from 1 to m because there are m rows. And j, which indicates the columns, can go from 1 to n because there are n columns. Okay, so we've seen this in a general setting. Let's look at a particular example, right? So this is a matrix. Now, how many rows does it have? 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 rows. How many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 columns. So it's got 3 rows and 4 columns. So now let's try and pick out the elements of the matrix, right? So A11, that's the first row, first column. So that's 12. A12, first row, second column, right? So 2. A14, first row, fourth column, so it better be 11. A21, second row, first column, so that's this number. A22 is second row, second column. A31 is third row, first column. And A34 is third row, fourth column. Right? Now I've left a few of the elements out. Just take a piece of paper and feel free to try these out, see if you can get them right. And you can obviously revert to this particular section of the video to revise your concept. Now, a term that everybody should know regarding a matrix is the order of a matrix. So what do we mean by an order of a matrix? So if you take a matrix A, which has m rows and n columns, then the matrix is said to have an order m by n. And that's shown as matrix A m cross n. So it's read as m by n, where m is the number of rows of the matrix and n is the number of columns of the matrix. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's now look at an example of that. So you have this matrix. Can you predict the order, right? So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 columns. So it's an order 5 by 4. Simple. It's got 1 row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 columns. So it's 1 row, 4 columns, order 1 by 4. And obviously it's got 2 rows, 1, 2, 2 columns. So it's order 2 by 2. So that should, explain to you clearly what the order of a matrix is. Now that you've got the basic idea or a quick insight into what a matrix is and what people mean when they say order of a matrix, please take a quick test on TeachYaar.com. It's free and it will help you revise what you've learned and reinforce your concepts. So we've shown a snapshot of that test below. To take the test, you can scan the QR code given below with your mobile phone, or the link that we're showing you here has been dropped in the comment section, also in the description section of this video. So please try it out, and at the end of the test you'll get feedback and a little more information about matrices in that. And please subscribe to the TeachYaar YouTube channel to get notifications.